Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something kind of surprising. We're going to dissect a compilation video of incredibly simple, classic nursery rhymes that you've probably seen floating around. We're talking specifically about the story of a happy little dog, that famous race between the tortoise and the hare, and an adventure through a big, bright zoo. But, we aren't just looking at these as catchy children's songs today. If we really look closely at the source text, we can actually uncover three deep, universal psychological stages of development hiding right there in plain sight. We're talking about the progression of individual action, the harsh reality of consequence, and finally, the complexities of community integration. So let's see what we can uncover together.
Slow and steady wins the race, right? You've undoubtedly heard this phrase. I mean, it's a total cornerstone of childhood fables across the globe. But I wanted to start with this highly recognizable quote to remind you of something absolutely critical. These simple stories aren't just about keeping kids entertained for a few minutes. They hold timeless behavioral lessons for all of us, no matter our age. They actually encode the fundamental rules of how we operate as individuals, how we handle competition, and how we eventually learn to live with one another. And the rhymes we're exploring today perfectly map out that exact human journey.
Section 1. The Happy Little Dog. Individual Joy. Okay, so before we can interact with others, we really have to understand our own personal routines. Let's trace this dog's day. Step 1. Run and play chasing the ball all through the day. Step 2. Dig a hole in the soft, warm sand. Step 3. Hide a bone, executing exactly what he planned. And finally, Step 4. Snuggle up for the night under the shining stars. This brilliantly illustrates a really simple, joyful cycle of daytime play and nighttime rest. Notice how there's no conflict here. There's zero competition. It's just a pure, self-contained loop of setting a goal, like hiding that bone, achieving it, and resting. It's the absolute foundation of personal satisfaction.
The text literally calls him the happiest pup you'll ever see, rolling around and feeling so free. I want to briefly emphasize the emotional takeaway here. This represents our baseline contentment. It models what it looks like to be entirely fulfilled by your own actions, your own plans, and your own environment, long before any complex social dynamics or external pressures are introduced. It's just pure action and individual reward.
Section 2. The Plucky Tortoise, Interpersonal Competition.
But, well, we don't live in a vacuum forever, do we? We eventually have to interact with others, and this is exactly where development gets complicated. Think about the stark, undeniable contrast between these two figures. On one side, you have the hare. He's speedy, he's arrogant, he brags from near and far that he's faster than a car, and ultimately, he takes a snooze. On the other side, we have the tortoise. He's plucky, he's lagging behind, he very slowly crawls. But he's determined, and he keeps inching down that road. Notice how the pacing of their very identities clashes. The frantic, totally unfocused energy of the hare versus the deliberate, methodical crawl of the tortoise.
Section 3. Slow and steady wins. Action and consequence.
So the race is proposed. The animals gather to watch. This is the moment where we see exactly how those contrasting personality traits translate into real-world consequences under the immense pressure of competition. Let's walk through the timeline of this race. Point 1, the bell rings and the hare immediately speeds off, running far ahead. Point 2, the hare, feeling absolutely sure he couldn't lose, lays right down to take a snooze. Point 3, the little tortoise keeps inching down the road step by step and actually passes by the sleeping, snoring hare. And point 4, the determined tortoise nearly reaches the finish line, and by the time the sleepy hare wakes up and runs as fast as he can, it's just too late. The tortoise wins. This timeline lays out the inescapable logic of how steady, persistent determination outpaces raw but undisciplined and arrogant talent pretty much every single time.
The hare was very fast, but even so, he came in last. I really want to remind you why this matters. We hear this as kids, sure, but as adults, this is a powerful, ongoing warning against arrogance. It teaches us that relying solely on natural gifts without the discipline to see a task through to the very end leads to failure. It's a harsh lesson in interpersonal reality. Basically, how you treat a challenge and how you respect your opponent matters just as much as your innate abilities.
Section 4. The Big Bright Zoo. Broad social integration.
All right, so we started with an individual dog, moved to a two-person race, and now, boom, we expand into a massive community. Just listen to the sheer scale of the zoo community presented in the text. We've got lions roaring, tigers playing, monkeys swinging and dancing all day, elephants stomping with their trunks held high, giraffes stretching up to the sky, zebras prancing, hippos splashing,
parrots chattering loud and bright, peacocks showing their proud feathers, penguins waddling in a row, and bears rolling in the snow. The energy here is rapidly escalating. It's vibrant, it's loud, and it is just beautifully chaotic.
But out of all that beautiful chaos comes this deeply comforting line. So many animals waiting for you. The zoo's a place for you and me. The zoo in this rhyme acts as an incredibly rich, perfect metaphor for society itself. Every single individual animal we just rattled off has their own wildly unique traits. They roar, they waddle, they splash. Yet they all share the exact same space. They exist together in a shared environment.
Our final section, a happy community, the core lesson.
So what actually happens when you bring all of these vastly different individuals, from the happy little dogs to the arrogant hares to the stomping elephants, together into one space? How do we manage the transition from individual joy through fierce interpersonal conflict into a functional society? Well, the ultimate takeaway is provided right at the end of the source material. Let's be kind and wave hello at every friend at the Happy Zoo. It all comes down to socialization and intentional kindness. This perfectly culminates our entire developmental journey. We learn to find our own joy, we learn the harsh consequences of arrogance and competition, and finally, we learn that to exist in a vibrant, diverse community, the fundamental requirement is baseline kindness and recognition of others. Just waving hello is the ultimate act of acknowledging your place within the wider world.
Which leaves us with a thought to carry forward. Look, we all cycle through these stages. Sometimes we're focused purely on our own goals. Sometimes we're locked in a really fierce competition. But eventually we all have to walk through the big, bright zoo of our daily lives. So whether you are acting like a speedy hare today or a determined tortoise, how you choose to wave hello to your community. Think about that as you go about your day. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and keep learning.